Tate. Now, Carnell Tate, again, I think has the highest overall floor for an NFL career. I do think Carnell Tate, again, at 6'3", he has good enough size. I do think the biggest thing with Carnell Tate, he does run routes really well. So I do think you kind of get the combination of Jordan Tyson and Mekhi Lemon. You get the really good route runner, and you get the guy with size. I think the way he moves his body to get open is something very underrated. Kind of reminds me of like Devontae Adams, how he contorts his body. But again, I don't really want to compare like people to NFL greats. But Carnell Tate, again, is a guy that's been in Ohio State system. A guy that kind of like really had to like earn his keep. Obviously, everybody knows Ohio State absolutely loaded receiver room. When we look at it the year before last, he wasn't really the focal point in that offense. Obviously, in the national championship team, you had two really great running backs, and you had Emeka Egbuka in there along with Jeremiah Smith. Then this year, you saw way more production from him. He was a little bit injured, but again, 875 yards, 9 touchdowns. And the biggest thing with Carnell Tate for me is the way he's able to fight for balls. Like, I believe his contested catch, he was the best contested catcher in the country, even that's including Jeremiah Smith on his team. I guess the only concern will be with Carnell Tate, even though he is, like I said, a complete receiver. He's able to run routes. I do think he's a guy that you do want to put on the outside because, again, at 6'3", with his ability to get open, you want to leave the slot for somebody who could really primarily win out of the slot and, again, doesn't win out on the outside. So I think Carnell Tate gives an offense that luxury to keep him on the outside. Again, the only concern with Carnell Tate, I guess you could say, is that he played on this powerhouse with Ohio State and he lined up alongside Jeremiah Smith. So he was, I guess, the second option for defenses to, again, game plan around. But this was a guy that you definitely couldn't have left open. You could argue that this team had the two best receivers in the country with him, obviously, as I do think he's going to be the first receiver taken. The other only issue with Carnell Tate, which I don't even think it's an issue because I do think he has pretty solid speed. You didn't see really much yards after the catch from him when he gets the ball within space. Again, he does get open pretty well. He does get open downfield, short, middle. But again, the yards after the catch, again, isn't the most explosive receiver in this draft. But again, like I said, with his ability to really primarily play on the outside as an X, and again, with the pedigree he has in this system for Ohio State, I mean, we see it every year. The first round is like an Ohio State invitational for receivers. Every single year, a player gets drafted in the first round from Ohio State at the receiver position. He's also the last extension to me from this Brian Hartline tree, from this Brian Hartline being an offensive coordinator, a guy that's been able to get all his wide receiver talent to the NFL. He now leaves to go to South Florida, so he's the last extension of that. But I think Carnell Tate is the safest option when you break down everything, when you look at size, route running, contested catch ability, the ability to stay healthy. When we have all these concerns with the receivers in the top three, he, to me, seems like the safest option. And then again, when you pile on the pedigree of Ohio State, I completely love it as well. For me, I feel like the Giants have been linked to him throughout this whole entire process. I like the Giants from at 5. I really do like it. The only thing with me with the Giants, I would prefer Caleb Downs going to the Giants. I've said that multiple times. I think, again, the Giants need help in the secondary. I do believe Caleb Downs is the best player in this draft, even though he plays a luxury position at safety. I do believe he's a Swiss Army knife. So I do like that pick a little more for the Giants. But, again, if the Giants got a talent like Carnell Tate to pair on the opposite side of Malik Nabers to, again, grow with Jackson Dart, I believe you can't hate on that. And then I also have, if the Giants pass up on him and go Caleb Downs or somebody else, I do have Cleveland at 6 again. That kind of just slides all these receivers down a little bit. But I think Cleveland would definitely take him at 6 as well. I don't think he gets past the 6th pick because, again, you're looking at two teams that have been linked to receivers at 5 and 6. And then you also have teams ahead of them that could take receivers too. I don't see a way he gets past 6. But, again, like I said, Carnell Tate pretty much the safest option with pedigree, with his skill set, with everything considered. I think Carnell Tate is going to be the first receiver taken in this NFL draft.
Yeah, I feel like one team, I mean, you kind of alluded to it with the teams ahead. I feel like the Titans maybe could be a team potentially with like the lack of pass catchers. Obviously, they paid Calvin Ridley a ton of money, but, you know, he got hurt last year. He hasn't really been that great. And like the Giants, they have a young quarterback in Cam Ward that they want to, you know, surround him with more talent. So that could potentially be a spot. But I mean, the Giants do have issues in the secondary. The Titans have a ton of issues as well on their defensive side. And now you have Robert Saleh as the head coach. So maybe they go with a defensive pick there, or, you know, with Brian Dable being brought in as the OC, maybe they do take a playmaker. So I think that could be a potential spot for him, maybe Carnell Tate, if the Titans were to take him. Because, you know, at least for the Giants, they have that number one receiver in Malik Nabers coming back. With the Titans, they need that a number one playmaker for their young quarterback. So that would be another team that I would throw in as well.
Yeah, Titans could definitely take him. I mean, the Titans have a lot of needs. Titans are a team that's a little bit harder to predict because, like I said, they have more needs than like the Giants or Cleveland. Like when we look at the Giants, we're looking at secondary. We're looking at maybe another extension on offense. And then same thing with Cleveland. Like Cleveland, like defensively, one of the best units in the NFL. Again, they could use another playmaker. Again, maybe an offensive line piece. But again, for like the Giants and Cleveland, they'll be picking at the 5-6 spot. It's not like teams that could sit out here and say, hey, I could pick like anything. Best player available. We could use a receiver. We could use a cornerback, a linebacker, whatever. Like they're teams that are more solidified in certain areas. So, like again, they needed receivers. Like the Titans could 100% go Carnell Tate if they think he's the best player at that pick. I can 100% see that. And you pair him up with Cam Ward, like you said, help develop Cam Ward. But again, like I said, harder to predict for the Titans because they're a team that kind of needs everything.